Back to the RGR Football Channel. This has been a day, so we are going to go ahead and get into it pretty quickly here. But again, you guys know that this is was always going to happen at some point. We're going to get into the positives in terms of the COVID positives, the positives as in what we can look forward to possibly being down the road here, and what this all means for Kansas City and the number one seed going to the end of the season. But again, this is RGR Football. It has been a day in Kansas City, as you all know. And roughly 2 or so hours ago, the total list was released. That's why I'll be doing a little bit of looking over here because I have a couple tweets bookmarked that have everybody that's been positive tested on the Chiefs staff or the Chiefs roster. So there are now 14 Chiefs players on the COVID list. 14. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Charvarius Ward, Harrison Butker, Josh Gordon, Lucas Niang, Rashad Fenton, Kyle Long, Armani Watts, Blake Bell, and Garrick Dieter. This is a full-blown breakout at the outbreak at this point. And what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, the good news is that today's Tuesday. Okay, I know that doesn't help Chris Jones, Josh Gordon, and I believe there was one other person that was put. I know that Dieter was put on Friday, but those two, Chris Jones and Josh Gordon, won't have the same impact as everybody else will for the COVID policy changes. I believe they don't get grandfathered in. There's been no update on whether they will be or not. So Jones and Gordon still need two concentric negative tests to be able to play on Sunday, assuming that the game stays on Sunday. So right now we're trying to figure out what the NFL is going to do. Are they going to end up moving this game? So I think we're going to wait until about Friday before the team would so and so quote unquote leave. Yes, Willie Gay was the other player that didn't play because of that. So those guys weren't grandfathered in. So we're going to probably wait and see until about Friday if this is going to impact everything on Sunday, whether it's going to be played on Sunday, whether it's going to be pushed to Monday or Tuesday, which inevitably I think it will be. But again, we're going to see if the Steelers start popping a little bit here and there, and if the Chiefs add more players, I do think that will end up being moved to that kind of venue, that kind of day, and that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Will it end up helping the Chiefs at all? I don't know. I don't really have any idea whether this is going to help. If it might help everybody else that only needs one negative test without symptoms. So this has been an absolute bomb drop today, and not only were those guys, that were on there listed, also Darius Fountain and Darius Harris on the practice squad were also put on the practice squad COVID list. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the Chiefs' entire team. I haven't even seen an update as whether they've been put into like shutdown in terms of everybody in the building, people are staying at home or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing going down as the week gets longer and we, all the way into Friday. This has been one of those days. I don't know if we all saw it coming, but last week with the Browns, Washington, and all of those teams, the Rams having a ton of COVID positives, it was only a matter of time, I think, before it started getting everywhere else. Unfortunately, as we saw with Jones and Gay and Gordon, I assumed that this was going to happen a little bit, but I was hoping that maybe playing on Thursday would help them out. Unfortunately, we all saw that Joey Bosa for the Chargers also tested positive. So when you saw that, it kind of put all of that feeling in doubt. This is going to be a big impact on what happens to the Chiefs and the number one seed. Really, if we're being as upfront about that as we can, I think even with some of the issues that some of the players missing from this roster, the Chiefs still have a good chance of beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's going to really come down to putting up points. And as long as Patrick Mahomes and 90% of the offensive line is there and they can play, I do believe they'll have a good shot. And again, the Niners play the Titans on Thursday Night Football. I do believe the Niners have an excellent chance of beating them in that game. Patriots play the Bills. The Bills want to come back after they got beat by the Patriots in that terrible, no good, very bad football game that they played against them in the huge amount of wind and some of the rain, sleet, snow, whatever it was that happened there. So there is going to be this week, as much as the Chiefs currently have that number one seed, we're going to see what this impacts them, how it all goes through. And yes, anybody that wants to know, I will knock on wood for Patrick Mahomes. I've got the helmet here. I'm going to just kind of keep it in this, and I'm going to hope that kind of rubbing it like a genie's lamp will help to keep him safe. I know that he did get his booster last week, early last week or late last week, I believe he got his booster. So I'm hoping that helps him not, at the very least, not get symptoms so he can test negative if that ends up being happening. So yeah, we're gonna make sure that everything that we can do there just is. But as soon as the Chiefs got the number one seed, it felt like they were just starting to throw more stuff at them. So I'm very interested in what's going to happen. But I know that there was a video that I released earlier today that ended up pretty much not being relevant because there's a ton more COVID positives. So yeah, I know that that's out there. I think we're just going to kind of leave it there because there's some other stuff that I talked about. But one thing that I will mention is that I know that this is also without Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid, coming off of those mini buys, is 4-5 in his career in Kansas City, which is a little bit perplexing to me. As good as they are off of full buys, that doesn't really carry over to the mini buys. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. And now, specifically with COVID, how it's going to impact the roster and all of that stuff going forward. I know that you guys probably have some questions. I'm going to get into some of those in a little bit, but I just wanted to address everything up front. It's going to be a very, very long week for everybody, all the fans, and everybody on the staff, everybody on the team, to be able to get through this. They're going to do so much testing. People aren't going to be sleeping a whole lot. I'm hoping, like we said, the staff can get through this too. That's just as much important as we've seen over the past week. Having the staff on the field can really impact how a game is played, how a game ends up. So even to an extent, playing, for example, the Bears last night played with pretty much no secondary. All of their starting four guys in the corners and safeties were out, and they were playing with a bunch of nobodies, and no one knew what they were going to play. So, and they still were able to actually play decent, well coached football in terms of not letting the Vikings just put up 50 on them. So, I do think, as much as I know about the COVID protocol, I don't know a whole lot. I think that you can still test, as long, from what I understand about it, as long as you are vaccinated, you're not showing any symptoms, I think they can test you as many times during that day to find that negative. But I don't know. We're gonna have to kind of see how this works, especially with the changes in the not just the dynamics of the contracts that we're talking about with the NFLPA and the NFL with the COVID protocols that are going to be constantly changing. I think we are going to have to really we're going to get more understanding of that this week in terms of what changed with the protocols and how everyone can handle that. So yeah, I'm just kind of going with it as everybody else is, and I'm hoping that we can get into a little bit more of it this week as this stuff starts to go through. I believe we've already ruled out Harrison Butker, so that pretty much tells you he is unvaccinated, and everybody else on that list should be. I don't have any confirmations from the guys on the practice squad, so that's going to be another thing up in the air too. And really, Darius Harris on the practice squad being a COVID positive when you have Bolton and Gay that are also positive, that's not good for your linebacking situation. It's a very bad situation to be in, obviously, and you don't want to have to continue to fill linebacker spots with guys that you don't even know can play. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few moves in terms of signing some free agents at linebacker to the practice squad or to the active roster. Can really just kind of seeing how it's going to go. Tight end as well, because you don't have any of those as well either. You have Noah Gray right now, and that's it. So there's going to be some movement. I think they're going to do a lot of waiting to see what happens, a lot of testing, trying to get those negatives. So either they play Sunday or they push the game to Monday or Tuesday and play it then. So now that we've covered all of that, like I said, I will get back to the Steelers a little bit. And I don't know if anybody else saw the incredibly ridiculous post about a Steeler reporter talking about how Melvin Ingram has not impacted the Chiefs. Like he hasn't played well. He pretty much said he's done nothing, which we all know is irrelevant. It doesn't matter because he's just trying to stir up stuff in Pittsburgh and stir up stuff in Kansas City. I mean, I probably shouldn't have quote tweeted it with what I did, but again, I can't. I saw something like that, and I just can't. I can't ignore it. So I do think Melvin Ingram is going to play a part in this game. Didn't want to be in Pittsburgh, and I'm very interested to see how he shows up in this game. Considering against the Chargers, I thought he would be a little bit more everywhere, but they did a good job of playing a ton of max protection and really trying to get the ball out quickly and quicker so that the pass rush couldn't impact them. So I do apologize. I'm getting some texts from the wife and Ryan as well as this whole thing goes through. And we're all just trying to get through this together. And I hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. I know that this information and this outbreak is not what we all want to see, we all want to hear. But there's still a game to be played, okay? There's still going to be a game played, no matter what, no matter who it is. They're not going to cancel this game. So let's talk about how the Chiefs still win this game, no matter what. We're going to assume worst case scenario right now, just because this is Tuesday and that's what we have here to talk about. I'm going to assume that this is what we're playing with, okay? Just so we can talk it out. Offensive line right now, I think that they'll struggle to find a right tackle, okay? Because Niang just popped for testing positive. Wiley is injured. I don't know if I haven't heard anything about whether he's going to be remotely close to full health or not. Kyle Long, who had just been activated, is also on the COVID list now. So there's right tackle, no real option there. You're going to have to find somebody in this system, whether it's on practice squad, to be able to do that. And I think that comes down to Prince Teo Winogo. I don't know if he's hurt or not, so we're gonna have to see how that that goes through. But again, the Chiefs will be playing a game, whether it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's going to happen. Okay, they're going to play this Steelers team. We watched that game against Tennessee. All of us did. We all rooted for the Steelers to beat the Titans so that the Chiefs could get this number one seed. And now everyone's. It feels almost like, wait, the Chiefs got back to the one seed after that start, and then there's the NFL is just trying to throw stuff at them in terms of like the NFL guys are just like, here, have COVID, I'll do this stuff. They don't want that to happen. So they're going to play this game. That's what's going to happen. They're going to be able to do that. They're going to play the Steelers, and the Steelers are not going to be able to move the ball well. Their offense is extremely young on the offensive line, and it's extremely old at quarterback. Those things don't mesh very well, especially with Big Ben, who just from 2 years ago, the game that the Chiefs played against them in 2018, so that's 3 years ago, excuse me. The game that they played them, there's so much difference in Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback. That's the biggest thing for me is he can't get the ball down the field. If his first read's gone, it's over. Like the play is over. So as of right now, they're still going to have their weapons in Chase Claypool and Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson. They're all going to be there. I think, unfortunately, the young rookie tight end Pat Freiermuth is not going to play. He's got a concussion, and we're going to see what happens there. And the offense for the Steelers is going to be the question. I don't think that they can put up enough points, even without some of the weapons that Kansas City has, to be able to beat them. So we're going to keep monitoring the situation. We're going to see what happens with the Chiefs and these COVID positives. We're going to see if anything pops up in Pittsburgh to see if they are also being impacted the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions here just to lighten the load. I know there's a lot going on out there. I appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. 174 of you on a Tuesday night is pretty awesome when it's just me. So again, I appreciate it. We'll come through here really quickly. All right. So I know that Jaden asked if it was live. Yes, this is a live stream. All right. Thank you, Scott. Who do we root against today or tonight? Or is it who cares? It's really who cares for me. This is not, they're both NFC teams, so it doesn't really matter to me very much who ends up winning. All right, so sorry, my wife's just telling me that she's going to be going to do something really quick, but yeah, so I think that no one really cares about that game. These two games tonight. I'm gonna probably try to watch a little bit of them, but at the end of this is more fantasy implication for everybody else than it is about the Chiefs, and I don't really care. I must have missed some questions here. Maybe. All right. Here's another one. Thank you, Madman. What linebackers are you seeing in the draft that the Chiefs have got a chance to get? I haven't looked at the linebacker position. It's been a bit of a busy time. I'm still looking at the film from Thursday night. I finally got that a few nights ago. I've been able to go through it. With Christmas being this week, I've been spending more time with my family while my wife's off work for the week, so I get to spend time with her and my daughter. We went ice skating today, so it's been a trying to get through the film there. And unfortunately, draft content for me right now goes to the wayside if I have other stuff building up. So when I get there, I will let you know. Promise you that much. All right. So, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Will Willie and CJ Chris Jones be back for Sunday? I believe both of them will, but at this point, since we don't have knowledge to how many negative tests they have or anything like that, and no one's been activated today, so right now we don't have a clue. I assume that they will be, but again, that's just an assumption based off of pretty much nothing. So I'm hoping that these guys can get tested, they can pop negative so that they can play on Sunday, whether it's going to be Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. So we will know. We'll let you guys know as soon as we know. Thank you, Rasta. Hi, Dan. Do you think if we win the next two games, we could sit our starters and we lock up one? Yeah, that would be the situation if they do win these games, and as well as Tennessee and the Patriots lose a game before then. So in the next 2 weeks, this week really, I talked about it right off the top. If the Titans lose to the 49ers on Thursday night, which I think they will, and the Patriots lose to the Bills on Sunday, which I think they will, then the Chiefs just need to win those two games and they have it locked up. So, yeah, that's what they would have to do. Um, Steelers and the Bengals. They'd have to win the Steelers and Bengals, which I think they could. This game is becoming a little bit more murky as the week goes along. I'm hoping it becomes a little unmurkied as the week continues, and hopefully by Friday before they leave or then not leave, that wouldn't make any sense. They're in Kansas City, so I think right. If someone else has that information, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But they're in Kansas City for Pittsburgh, and they fly next week to Cincinnati. So yeah. So Friday, I think the travel day for the Steelers would be when the NFL is going to look to move this game if there's still as many positives on the Kansas City side, and if they start to impact even more there, and they start to impact the Steelers as well. I think that's what they'll do. Thank you for the question, man. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. The hi-10 button does still work. It does, and anybody can say hi. I'm always here. I appreciate the hi dans. It makes me feel very, very loved, and I appreciate that. And again, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that you doing the live. I figured it was best to try to get a live session in here, considering everything that went on today, and try to at least get as much of the COVID stuff talked about as we could. Unfortunately, there was so much that popped up from when I recorded the video for today last night that it just made the video irrelevant. So yes, no problem. I'll do as much as I can to keep you guys as informed as possible. Thank you again, Scott. Thank you again, Rasta. Do you think stagnation will show up since Ben is just less than a statue? Yeah, I think that there's a good chance of that. I think especially if Chris Jones and Willie Gay and Nick Bolton all clear. I think that's really the most important thing for the defensive side is to get those guys cleared on the field. Hopefully, if they end up having to move it, it helps them get cleared. And that's going to be the only way that I think they can. I think you saw a little bit with the game plan that the Chargers had without Chris Jones. They just, really just made a lot of max protections, a lot of two tight end sets. Steelers wouldn't really be able to do the same thing because their number one and number two tight end are out with injuries. And I think the Freiermuth will still be out with concussion, but that'll be more later in the week that we'll find that out. So it'll be interesting. I think that Frank Clark and Melvin Ingram, if Chris Jones doesn't play, and they understand how big this game is, they're going to have to show up in different ways. Tershawn Wharton's going to have much more impact. Maybe Colin Saunders gets activated, gets off his inactive list. I'm not sure what's going out there. So yeah, it's not going well. This injury report says Nick Bolton is out because I think everybody typically shows as out if you're on that COVID list. I'm going to check up on everything really, really quickly because I don't want to miss stuff. If you guys are seeing anything on Twitter that is updating the Chiefs situation right now as we speak, then just let me know that's something we can do a little bit fluidly. I'm going to probably end this in 5 minutes because I do have to go watch my daughter. But I think I don't see anything updated about that. So I assume that if someone's on the COVID list as of right now, that that means that they're just technically assuming is out. That'll be all cleared up later in the week. Um, and again, for the new guys on the list, I think it's just one negative test when you don't have any symptoms, and that will get you clear. Thank you for the question once again. Dash dash. If that's what I'm doing right. Do you think Pringle and Mahomes will gain some trust in each other if they have a big game this Sunday? Yeah, I think it's been growing over the course of the last 2 months. You're seeing a little bit more of the some specific plays directed at him. He had a couple of them against the Chargers. He had that one, if you guys remember, against the Cowboys, where they basically got him in that deep corner route down the field, and that was drawn up specifically for him. So they're starting to see that he's got some ability, and I think that Mahomes is starting to get more comfortable with him to know where to expect him on the field. That, as much as anything, is more just as important to that whole situation at wide receiver and quarterback with Mahomes, because he knows where Tyreek and Travis Kelce are going to be 95% of the time. And he's starting to understand that a little bit more with Pringle. So the trust is definitely growing there. Thank you for the question, Bill. I kind of running a running back line in tight end position. So anybody can technically line up in a tight end position. If they're on the field, they just have to know if they're on the line or off the line. So they can also bring an extra offensive lineman to do the same type of thing. They can use big body wide receivers as well. So they can kind of even use more of a reduced split with like a Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle if that's their goal, if that's their thing. They still have Noah Gray active as of now. So I think they're going to find ways to get either extra offensive linemen or maybe bring a bigger wide receiver down to a reduced split to kind of make up for that. I'm going to answer a few more questions, then I'll be wrapping it up for you guys. I know that, like I said, there's been nothing new updated about the COVID situation as of yet. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. It doesn't change the next 3 minutes. Thank you for the question, Austin. Do we see a more aggressive Andy Reid this week and going for fourth without Bucker? I believe that will be the case, the situation. He also understands the gravity of this situation. If you're going to have a bunch of guys not playing, including Bucker, I think that you have to be a bit more aggressive in your play calling and going to win the game with the number one seed, possibly, in that situation in doubt. We don't know what's going to happen, especially if Titans do win on Thursday. That'll put a little more pressure on them to have a game plan to be more aggressive. Thank you for the question, Rob. I haven't seen anything about Breland. He's just been tweeting through it on Twitter. If you guys have seen anything about him, he definitely has been tweeting through it. So we'll probably find out in the next couple of days if that's how they want to go with the possibility of Travarius Ward, Rashad Fenton, and L'Jarius Sneed not playing. If they get more confirmation that those guys' status is in doubt, I think the addition for Rashad Breeland makes a lot of sense, and that'll happen soon. Thank you, Tactics. Herbert and Allen, just one-dimensional bullet machines like Favre. I'd pick Lamar over them. So, no, I think that Herbert and Allen are both dual threats, because Allen is one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. Not only is he faster than people like to give him credit for, he's such a big guy to bring down. And sometimes I think Buffalo and Brian Daboll don't want to use him as much as they can, because Lamar's different with his running ability because he can evade tackles. He can get out of the way and get down, much like Tyreek Hill does when he's on the move. He gets out of the way of big hits for the most part because he has that ability to kind of sink his hips, get low to the ground, and kind of almost like slide down without really taking some of those big hits. Lamar can do the same thing because of his sleekness and his hips, his ankles, his knee flexion, all of it. He can do so many different things to avoid taking those big hits. Josh Allen can't do that, and he's a more built like a big running back in the sense that he will run you over, and he's hard to bring down. But those hits for him take more of a toll. Herbert's 6'6", so his ability to rush is a little bit different. He's an athlete, and he can do a lot of things on the move, but he's not going to do what Josh Allen does, and he can't get out of the way much like Lamar Jackson can. I think that Herbert, for his size, is an excellent athlete on the move and can get you some of those yards and has better speed than I think he gets credit for as well. But I don't think either of them are one-dimensional. I think that they're both excellent, huge armed gunslingers that can get you some things on the move. Allen a bit more so than Herbert to that point. All right, guys. I appreciate you joining me tonight. Again, I'm going to repeat the list for everybody, for anybody that was late, not here. If you don't know, 14 total players on the COVID list: Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Charvarius Ward, Harrison Butker, Josh Gordon, Lucas Niang, Rashad Fenton, Kyle Long, Armani Watts, Blake Bell, Garrett Dieter. And then there's also two guys on the practice squad not named Garrett Dieter, and Darius Fountain and Darius Harris, that are also on the COVID list. So this is it's a big week. It's going to be a big time for everybody. Before I go again, I want to hit this last thing. Thank you, William. I think Patrick can lead this team to a win. Even if Kelce and Hill don't play, it would be like 2017 versus Bronco Stars with Casey backups. We're going to end on this point because I do think it's the point to make. Like I said, if the offensive line is there, if Patrick Mahomes is there, they have the chance, no matter what, who's playing wide receiver, who's playing running back, to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what it's going to come down to. And I do think that, given the fact that it's been so early, those stars will have the opportunity to get back to the roster as long as they're not showing symptoms or they get that negative test. This is the point right here from William. Thank you very much for the super chat and this point. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the reason they can play this game. They win this game. No matter who's on the field, I think that's going to be it for them. So I appreciate all of you joining me tonight very much. It's going to be an interesting week. And like I said, we're going to do everything we can. Ryan, myself, everyone here at RGR, Aaron, who's been here tonight with me. I appreciate you guys, Stevie, Gooch, all of us here at RGR. We're going to do everything we can to keep you guys updated because this stuff is going to change every single day. So I'm going to still have the film review tomorrow. I know it's not what everyone wants to talk about, but it needs to be seen. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes were incredible on Thursday night, and we're going to talk about it. And we're going to also kind of sneak in there how they can use some of these formations that they used against the Chargers with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, to still be able to get these guys open in different shapes and in different players with the same type of route combinations and schemes. So the film review will still be out tomorrow night. Make sure you check that out. Thursday, Ryan, Seth will be here, most likely talking about the same thing we talked about today. Just make sure you guys keep up on it. We'll keep you up for it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. It is Tuesday, and it's already been a week, so we're gonna have some fun this week. Hopefully, the Chiefs have some fun on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. No matter what day it is, they're gonna show up to play. It's a great day to be a Chief, and you guys have a great night.